This is State of Play. Today, I'm sure in the next election, we are in 2022. 2 years from now, you'll be looking out for either the NPP or the NDC, or possibly. But today, we are introducing you to a third force. The third force that's more prominent, that's more capable, that's more functional than the ones you've actually been dealing with over the years. Today, our argument is why we must vote for the IMF in the 2024 elections. You see, think about this. I mean, take your time before you come haranguing. Take your time.
Why are you asking them to take their time? You want to make a position. So make your position without necessarily asking them to take their time. Because it's like you are anticipating an attack. So it's more like take your time. Yeah. Continue.
In the last 16 or 17 times that we've been to the IMF, it appears you take out the Acquah period. Of course, if we get it to the Acquah later periods, there was some trouble. The best times we've had in this country has been under some control, program, engagement, or some form of arrangement with the IMF. You see, the last few years will tell you the biggest story. When this government was telling everybody in this world that we are doing 8%, 7%, 6%, or whichever averages that we were putting together, GDP growth, we are doing single-digit inflation, and all the other things. One more thing you need to hear to actually endorse this position is that just when the staff level agreement, in fact, when we started talking about debt restructuring, which is really the IMF's indication, because Ghana on its own, I'm sure we would have done that anyway.
Of course, we would have
still been swimming in more debt, would have still been writing all the wonderful things that gets you into that position. But in all fairness, just when the IMF told us that we should do proper debt restructuring, just when we got the staff level agreement, come and see the city. This city that's roaming in 15, it's now somewhere around 9 city. In fact, the Bank of Ghana is quoting 9.2, right?
Yes.
They're actually bringing it down, but they are giving you some old one. That's
no, but you see, Raymond.
In all fairness, the best manager of the Ghanaian economy, put aside your feelings, has been the IMF.
In all fairness, the black man, i.e. the Ghanaian, has shown over the period that he is incapable of managing his own affairs.
But that's not a topic. I mean, I'm talking about IMF.
No.
Yeah.
Because if we were capable,
yes.
If we were capable, we would not be where we are today.
I understand you.
So you see the point that, even before I address that question, I like to always give you background information. And the background information will set the tone for the conversation. Okay? Some years ago in 1983, during the famine, when inflation was at 120, over 100%, when we were able to get out of that, it became the toast of the Bretton Woods institution. It said Ghana is the test case. Ghana is the one that tells you that it can be done. And indeed, Ghana showed the world that it could be done. Okay? Then, Evans and I did some analysis, in the build-up to the NPP elections. We'll do the same during the NDC election. Realize that any time any party comes into office in its first term, it goes to the IMF, oh, bingo, you get it right. And the second term, you're going to leave. But the reality is, why is it so difficult for us to manage our affairs that every time we keep going to the IMF? Look, the IMF, when they were signing off in 2019, they said they'll be willing to support us anytime. They told all of us that they'll be willing to support us. Why did they tell us they'll be willing to support us? Because they knew we were going to mismanage our affairs again. Yeah. Raymond, under the circumstance, you ask the question, is it better we maintain this duopoly of NPP and NDC over the period and consistently take us back to the IMF? Today, workers are complaining. They're telling everybody we are not going to accept haircuts. We're not going to accept that our pension funds, we don't touch our pension funds. I listen to them and I say, but can these workers really say their pension funds should not be touched? You have gone to sign on to funds, to a manager. And the manager takes decision on your behalf. The manager, who's a regulator, is advising that you sign on to a certain agreement in the interest of the nation. What do you do? Under the prevailing circumstances, my brother, I think it's very clear that as a country, our leaders have failed us. I find it very difficult agreeing that as proud as we are, and I'm not making this reference just as this statement in relation to Ken Ofori-Atta. Ken Ofori-Atta's proud nation.
Very proud nation.
No, that did not happen. That did not happen. But I'm saying that.
Is it Hosea or Nehemiah?
I think it's Hosea chapter 8 or something. I've forgotten. I mean, 8th century prophet. But you see, as proud as we are as a country, it saddens me that we've reached a level that the only period of stability is when we are under an IMF program.
I mean, Nkrumah must be turning in his grave, right? At some point, all of those speeches about we being capable of managing our own business, we being competent on our own, we being the black star of Africa, the shining star. In fact, there's a very nice speech Nkrumah did that we are signaling to the world, that's in the dawn of independence, that the black man has moved away from the thinking that God created some to be subsidiary to others, and that some of us are supposed to always look to other people. Nkrumah clearly, I mean, a few of them are capable of doing that. He clearly did not get that the Ghanaian after him was going to behave the way we have done. And it's so saddening how we praise ourselves. And I heard some people in government talking about how fast-paced this particular IMF staff level agreement has been, how quickly we've gotten there, how IMF has reposed confidence in us, how they believe that we can do it on our own. But the poor are demanding
the problem with this government is that they just don't learn and they take Ghanaians for granted.
Even when you are celebrating crisis,
and I've just been doing Twitter's BNFT Twitter Spaces, and I've been talking about the Ghanaian economy. Even when you agree that you've mismanaged the economy, and so you're going to the IMF, look, never mind the fact that Russia, Ukraine. The reality is that you overborrowed, you mismanaged, and you went to the IMF. I mean, you can't convince us.
Equally under the impact of Russia and Ukraine.
You cannot convince.
Look,
you cannot convince the whole world.
There are some who are reducing inflation at 10%.
Raymond,
your inflation is now 50 points.
50.3. What happened to us? Let me be very honest with you. Listen to the 2023 budget. I'm going to answer the question. I've not answered the question yet. I'll answer it. Listen to the 2023 budget. It says, restoring and sustaining macroeconomic stability and resilience through inclusive growth and value addition. Restoring and sustaining macroeconomic stability, not just that, and resilience. Listen to this carefully. Now we want to restore.
We want to what?
Restore.
Yes. Stability.
Yes.
Then add resilience to it.
Yes, but we'll not only restore, we'll sustain it. But we'll not only sustain it, we'll be resilient, because it has shown us that our economy was living a lie all this while.
That it was still Gagisberg.
It was still a Gagisberg economy. So my simple point is that, look, having listened to all the things that have monitored all the things that have happened in this country, I think that as we get close to election 2024, we should engage in a referendum that Ghana should be subjected, if these two are the people we want to ruling us, then we should be subjected to an IMF program for a very long time.
There's something that Dr. Kwabena Dufo told me in an interview. He said the late President Mills sat him down in the presence of IMF officials when we were exiting one of the programs and said, no, hold on, why do you want to leave? Because from his view, we did very well under the IMF. And that it is increasingly becoming clear that the actual and the real managers of the economy, it is only when a certain big boy is holding the cane over our heads and telling us what to do directly, giving us all the instructions, we will be irresponsible, we would spend anyhow, we will use private jets, when we complain, we will say everything that we want to say. It is only when, let's not forget, the executive president of this country has stopped using private jets.
Oh, yes.
I mean, see, think about it for a second. All of us said he should stop. He didn't stop. Every week, there was some new conversation about it. He didn't stop. Just when the IMF stepped in, the man has ceased doing so. It is pretty obvious. If I remember those days when we said the economy was heading the wrong direction, the likes of Lord Mensah and co were saying that, no, the way you are going, you might be in difficulty. Slow down. Deal with this. No. They didn't listen to anybody. Immediately the IMF stepped in. See how we are turning things around. We are doing things like we are responsible people. In fact, government now is saying that whatever we need to do, we do it by the book. We do it properly. We are very decent people. We need to turn the corner. This sustaining whatever that they put as a
theme of the budget.
A theme of the budget. When did we realize that we needed to do so?
We must do one thing. We must vote for an IMF program in the next election. We must admit as a people that our leaders have failed us. The leaders who said we're a proud nation have failed us. And so, like Professor Mills asked at the time, why are you leaving so early? And like the NPP did when they came into office by extending it for another year, in 2024 when we go to the polls, because we're going to get an IMF program, all things being equal next year, we're looking for a 3-year program that takes us into 2026. we vote to extend it to 2028. Now when we come back, because it is the only way you can guarantee that the Ghanaian will do the right
And
thing.
let's be fair to ourselves.
We will not do the right thing.
This government's biggest play has been under the IMF.
Of course.
Let's think about it quietly. For a second, though.
See,
so it is even in this government's interest that it actually goes back. Stay there permanently.
Watch this carefully.
If ideally, we should ask the IMF, which finance minister would they prefer? Which human being? In fact, they can find somebody in Ghana or even bring white person. It doesn't matter.
After Kwame Nkrumah, when he took over here, the Attorney General was a white man.
I mean, it's immaterial who you are putting in here. It's not coach of national team.
Our first development plan was drawn by Arthur Lewis. He was not a Ghanaian. We can bring people to come and do this.
And since then, we've been wobbling. We don't know what to do with the development plan in this country.
So having said that, it is very important. We must do a few things right. So let us extend the program to 2028. In 2028, we must not even get out of it. In fact, it is becoming, increasingly.
It sounds ridiculous, but think about it.
No, see. Look. The MPP
what works is what we want to stay with.
The MPP says until COVID-19, they were growing by on average 7%.
Yeah.
But that was 2017. We were under an IMF program.
Yes.
2018 we were under an IMF program.
Yes.
Then 2019 we exited. When we exited by end of 2019, we were warned that we are high risk of debt distress.
So imagine though. And it was in April that we exited.
After
2019.
we did the party.
Yes, after we did KK party. So between April 2019 and December 2019, October, because that DSA was in October.
It was in October, yeah.
Increasingly, they are telling us that, hey, be careful. You are high risk of debt distress. Which a responsible man, after 16 good years of getting any different good times, of getting some other person to manage your family for you, the only time that you came in fully to assume control, within less than 8 months, you messed up things.
If this is not recklessness, what is it?
Yes, I mean, at some point, we should do the introspection and tell ourselves that we are incapable of doing this. Or we are consistently failed structurally. So I'm not saying we don't have the brains. I think we don't have the disciplined people. We have the brains in this country. They function very well elsewhere. If you go within the ranks of the IMF, we've had people spread all over the place who are Ghanaians. So what is it with us that we are incapable of maintaining for a few months our own integrity?
Raymond, see, I don't want to mention names because of the kind of country we live in. But I've met Ghanaians who've worked with the IMF and the World Bank. And when they're telling you the state of the country, Ghana, when they're making prescriptions, you actually ask yourself, hey, so do our people know this? I met an elderly statesman who asked me a very simple question. He said, now all the things that you've told me, do our people know this? How come government doesn't seem to know this and doesn't seem to understand these things? I, as proud as I am as a Ghanaian, I've reached the position where I think that,
very painful,
like Professor Emil said, why is the IMF in a hurry to leave? The last time they said they will be willing to help us anytime. They're only a phone call away. Of course, we'll call them to come into the country. But please, we beg you, don't leave us. Ghanaians,
don't even listen to our people. You see, don't listen to all of those guys who said we will never. Not today, not tomorrow. Those people, they don't know what they are talking about. Clearly, they are part of the problem. They are part of the people who currently are mismanaging and we're mismanaging things. So when they say that we will never come back to you, we will never go back to the IMF, we are a proud nation, those things, you see, it's boisterous talking. It's not out of a very wonderful assessment or a very objective analysis. We, the people of this republic, we are mostly the guys who suffer because some of the people who speak in we will never, they have money. They actually benefit from state in varied ways. They give themselves contracts. They end up also putting their companies in ways that are almost like the same thing anyway. But we, the ordinary people, when there are tough measures, we suffer. When there are high prices, we suffer. When inflation is 50 and over, we suffer. We don't have houses where the people have been mentioning. We are the people who are consistently reeling under the effect of very terrible times. So we are saying that we are almost getting to the conclusion, if not being there already, that give us a referendum on the way forward of this country. Many are suggesting do never exit an IMF program. We have shown we are incompetent at doing it, or we are reckless with the future of this country. Because at some point in time, when everybody's having crisis, you should be able to say, well, we got help. And let's not forget it, we got help from IMF. Rapid credit transfer, they did. They did another one too. They also
even during COVID-19, they gave us money.
So you see, it's not just the money that is needed, though. With respect, so people should not get us wrong. It's not just injecting money into the economy that we need. We need a disciplinarian, and it's been proven right that without the IMF, we will not get there.
So let
the worst part is the pompous beggars in this republic who are they have some ego, and you should understand it. They beg all over the place, la sulala. But on the other side, if you ask them to be responsible, the expectation of the guy who's begging is the guy who's actually living a prudent life. There's a term that mostly we use in ostentatious and profligate expenditure. It's not doing those things. But we have shown consistently that given just 6 months, we will mess up things. So it is in our collective interest that it's either we fix the political system that produces this kind of leaders and produces the kind of system, and the system that makes it impossible for us to be prudent on our own, or we stay with the IMF. I am proposing in the interim, we stay with the IMF until we're able to do proper, deeper thinking and fix the fundamentals that leads us into becoming such a reckless republic.
Until, you see, this is the point. We must stay with the IMF.
Yeah.
And while we stay with the IMF, I mean, years ago, one Professor Aite in the US wrote an article.
George Aite.
Yes, I'm sure he wrote an article about, the Ghanaian system, where the young ones get into politics and they're eaten up by the system. So he goes into politics with all the brilliant ideas. In no time, he becomes like the people he was criticizing. And so we need to change the psyche of the nation, okay? And to be able to change the psyche of the nation, we cannot hand over this country without a big brother somewhere saying, hold on a minute, do things right, do that thing right. It saddens me.
Because if we leave IMF program before the next election, I can
we will
promise you
spend anyhow.
All the progress we've made, we will erode them.
No, so you see, it saddens me that old as we are as a country, 65 years, all we do is to think about the next election.
Yeah.
We never think about the next generation.
Sorry.
We never do. And we never do in anything we do. All we think about is that, oh, let us do this. Shame people, even with free SHS, which is supposed to think about the next generation, which is a very good program I have talked about. When you hear comments being passed about it, or go and pass and shame the critics of free SHS, I am not sure anybody would criticize something that is going to help all of us.
You see, even in that state, you think about it all. The people we are training in this country, their colleagues, they are doing innovative learning. They are passed beyond the level of merely passing exams. In other countries, you can see how people are moved into proper modes of thinking, which would actually be more innovative. You are still doing the things that you struggle in providing food and other things for your students. I mean, you may have financial challenges along the line, but today, a student from Ghana is competing worldwide. The same jobs that they want in this republic have been taken up by anybody all over the place. So your excitement should be you producing that world-class graduate. I remember those days in Legon, NSIT used to say that a lot. A world-class graduate who can fit in, compete anywhere the world over. Your excitement should not be that you've been able to introduce a couple of interventions and it's actually feeding people or not making them pay school fees. Whilst that may be in the interim a very nice approach, you miss the ultimate goal, which is not just passing exams, be it in the competition against Nigerians predominantly engaged in something, or in Sierra Leone or which country you are competing with. But your competition is a worldwide competition. It's with the Finlands of this world, who right from the beginning of your education plan are creating innovators. But we are sitting here, we can't do anything. Everybody's dependent on the same white-collar jobs. We say we do entrepreneurship, it becomes one way you will know that we are a messed up state. Check in the last 12 or 15 years, how many youth development programs we have introduced. If you train a proper youth right out of our schools, you don't need to introduce some of these programs to get them jobs to do. Yeah. So you think about it properly.
So look, let me make this point again. A country whose leaders over the period have consistently shown that without foreign supervision, they cannot do the right thing. That country is telling you that I need supervision all the time. Supervision not from the people in this country.
No, we don't respect
because whatever we say, they do not listen.
No.
And so we are saying that Ghanaians, let all of us agree on a very simple thing. That in 2024, we want to do a referendum. Okay? We want to tell the government that, okay, we like the IMF program. In fact, we have seen the Ghana city. And already we are being told of how the IMF program is brought about, and then you've seen Sikam Pedede from leading members of the NPP, okay, teasing others that, we said we're going to get the IMF program, we've gotten the IMF program. Now, one of the achievements is that we have had an IMF program in 5 months. Can you imagine? If this is no mediocrity. But the point is that we're going to ensure
we got a disciplinarian in 5 months.
Hold on, we're going to ensure that, yes, I agree, but we're going to ensure that going forward, we have a program that will last for like 10 years. I tell you, in 10 years, we would do a lot of things well. But you see, having said all of these things, Raymond, now the question is, for how long shall we continue to do this? For how long shall we continue to carry a cup in hand, walk to the Bretton Woods institutions, the international financial institutions, and say, give us money, and that we are incapable of managing our own affairs?
Recently, we're discussing cancelling debt.
Yes, we have admitted that we are failures. We've admitted that we have mismanaged our economy. But of course, because of international diplomacy, help us deceive the people and tell all of them that it's because of exogenous factors. My goodness, we cannot continue to do this forever. And so, even as we talk about why we must vote for the IMF in 2024, it's a signal we're sending to our leaders. It's a signal we're sending to our leaders that consistently they have failed this nation.
Yeah.
We cannot afford to allow you to continue failing this nation. And so, the word to the wise is enough. Enough of your profligate expenditure. Yeah. Enough of your sloganeering. Enough of your focus on the next election. Let us begin to think about the next generation. If we think about the next generation, look, I've just been to Acquah. I was in Mali school. I was supposed to go and engage in mentorship of the students, something I hardly would do. But when I was called, I said, why not? Let me just go there. When I asked them whether they had eaten, they said, no. I said, why haven't you eaten? But I saw you having breakfast. They said, yes, we had Tom Brown, no sugar, no bread. I said, that cannot be the case. You're lying. They said, oh, no sugar, no bread. I was like, how? Then I told the students that, when I was in secondary school, I used to have egg Sunday. Hey! They couldn't believe it. You see, for a government that is thinking about the future, the next generation, that government hastens slowly. It is better to be slow on the right things than to be fast on the wrong things. Let us pay attention and note that Ghanaians have become fed up with our mediocre performances, which we cover with sloganeering and always trying to sing our own praise.
Now, there are a couple of messages that we should bring to your attention. You can also send us more of them. And Sam Alexander says, your useless discussion cannot determine our way forward.
But nobody is forcing him. Yeah. Now, you've joined a discussion which you term useless. I haven't asked you to join me. And so if you join my discussion, it means you see it as useful. Yeah. Okay? So, Sam, thank you very much for joining this useful conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I know that you are conflicted one way or the other. You also may want the interests of this country. But for one reason or the other, you really, truly, deep within your heart, cannot imagine why we still get ourselves into a similar problem all the time. I can assure you that we are on the same page. In principle, we are on the same page. We all benefit from a better Ghana. Except that you feel that it is useless because we are not saying the things you like. I get you. The way forward would have been that we will not be excited coming to sit here talk about these things. So it's only because the people we put in charge fail consistently. That's why we are here. I'm just hoping that you and I will work together to make sure that the people we put in charge consistently deliver so that these discussions, useless or not useless, will not happen. But I understand you. I mean, well, sometimes it's painful when you think that the things people should be saying should be praising it and all of that, and they're not doing it. So you feel the pain. I get your point. There's Amoah here. I am challenging learned Ghanaians who are able to handle the affairs of the governance to be bold and stand as independent presidential candidates or new credible political parties that we will vote for. We need a third force. I sometimes do not think so. I actually think that, be it NPP or NDC, we should be able to have a country that will see very little difference in whoever runs this country. You see, so it should be what you do that matters. No,
this,
not who's run the
this
country.
whole third force thing. Yeah. Have you heard of CPP, NPP CPP, and NDC CPP?
Yes.
Have you heard of NPP PNC and NDC PNC before? See, the sad aspect is that in this country, even the people that you are believing in to be a third force, they're also waiting to be contacted by the party. So people always put themselves out for elections, knowing very well that they are not going to win. They go in there and do a manner of things. The next moment, they are rich, they come back again, the next period, and come and join. I mean, Ghana.
Let me read more of the messages here. Amoah has a lot more. NPP and NDC have dribbled Ghanaians over the years, and we are all poor, except they, the politicians. We need a third force, apart from the NPP and the NDC. Thank you very much, guys. You always say that it is. We need a credible, independent candidate to vote for. NDC and MP have milked the country dry. And Nemo Francis says, the fact still remains this government is useless in any form. Now, Amoah comes back. They used our money for big land cruisers, flying expensive private jets, oversized government sizes, and inflating cost of projects to enrich themselves only. And you are repeating, we need a third force. And yes, you say they have been reckless with our monies. They don't care. They are selfish. There is also one other one. Those comments that Amimo comes back with, those comments that we are a proud nation, we are unintelligent, visionless, premature, and less productive. So, okay, we're unintelligent, visionless, premature, and less productive thoughts. And there is this one.
Hold on. Let me just get to this one. Harrison Robertson says, we hire white coaches for the Black Stars.
Yeah.
But why can't we hire a white president? I like that point.
I mean, see, many people will not care so far as they are better off. You get one point. Sometimes, for example, we are almost like stakeholders of a company. We may not care who is hired by the company to be the cameraman, to be the presenter, to be the... We, the stakeholders, we may only care, more importantly, about getting the results that we want. But for a second, I think there's a deeper social connection that we should also get to this. I still believe that the black man is capable, except that some people have given the indication that they are more interested in their pockets than the collective interest of the people. It is some of these things we should be able to take out of our system. And until we collectively agree that it's a problem, merely because you are benefiting today, or you are waiting to benefit in the next government, or the subsequent government that comes in the future, that's not solve the problem. It's just a cycle. Yeah. Unless we liberate the mental slavery we have, Raymond, we should liberate ourselves.
More messages. Mauli Acquah says, the irony is that while Ronaldo is begging for an IMF support, he's admonishing African leaders not to beg.
Yes.
Richard Kojokbo said, the basic problem is the fundamentals of our education. We need to revolutionize and completely overhaul the programs taught to create unemployable graduates. And King George says, Amoah and vote for who? Okay. And Amoah gold against let's keep changing the psyche of the Ghanaian. I agree with Winston on the third force. Then let's keep changing the hearts and minds of the Ghanaians. Francis E. Teyi says, thank you guys for this education. I've learned a lot from you guys this afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. And Clenham Howard Goka says, how do you pay trainee allowances, build a cathedral, while you refuse to honor your debts?
When in all fairness, the amount of money this year we say we are going to give to the cathedral is more than the water and sanitation people's budget. So we are more interested in building the house of God, with the hope that when you get dysentery, when you get cholera, because you are poor on sanitary source of water, you go to the house of God and get healed in the process. At some point, that brain ought to be fixed. I mean, listen, we are all human beings, right? We've all been to school. You, some of you in government have been to school elsewhere. If that's how they run the institutions there, I'm sure you would have actually gotten the chance. Maybe there was scholarship to school in those institutions. But there is more from Kwame Sapon. This one says, talk is cheap. Chai, that is what he's saying. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the Songanieri was equally cheap, but it's not delivering. At some point, the talks will change something. And that's what we are talking about today. Guys, I applaud both of you for speaking the truth. That's Patrick Button. Okay, this one says, stop being hypocrites here, guys. I have gone past this. All of you guys are MPP stalwarts. So what are you saying? Mauli, George, Martin. Mauli, assuming without admitting that we are equally telling you that in our current state it is terrible. At least listen to the stalwarts say that we are in the wrong ends, and let's move it forward. You understand? I mean, do you agree on that? Can we put aside partisan connotations and just move forward this country for a second?
Once we agree on that, our time is up.
Our time is up. So Winston has indicated our time is up. Next week you should be back, but put Ghana first. It will help all of us, our families, our people, everybody ahead of Christmas. Put Ghana first.
And you know what? Next week is when? Next week Thursday, the 22nd.
I
think that'll be our last show for the year.
Okay, we certainly should be able to.
Yes, it'll be our last show. It'll be our last show for the year. We'll be here next week.
Okay.
Have a lovely afternoon.